I just spent 4 hours hyper analyzing the new season 3 map in Battle Lab so you don't have to. Congrats! Now I can show you the new best drop spots in Fortnite. So if in return you can leave the video with a like rating, subscribe down below, and use code ONY in the Fortnite item store and while buying the Battle Pass, I'd greatly appreciate it. My name is ONY, and without further ado, let's get right into the video. So all of the new locations we have are Rave Cave, Reality Falls, and Greasy Groves, and they're all great locations, so let's work into it from top down. Rave Cave is a great location in the map, but it really does have a lack of loot. While playing Battle Labs, I especially noticed this, because in Battle Labs you have 100% spawn rate. Every 4 loot spawns and every single chest spawns as well. Starting off at Reality Cave, one of the first places you want to land is through the roof here. Not on the launch pad, just right next to it. You can have a potential spawn of a gun on the floor there, and then you want to farm the mats. And then you have a potential of 4 chest spawns around this area also. Now the reason you want to land here is there is a few mats. You have high ground here, so if you see anyone else, or if someone gets to a chest before you, you can just hit that launch pad and you can dip out. Then you got a lot more loot here as well, and then you have the bowlers. On top of that, you have a lot of slurp barrels that can spawn here as well, so you can get yourself a guaranteed shield. And then after that, you can just dip from this location very easily with the bowlers or the launch pad. Now if I was you guys, what I would do is I'd get in this bowler and I'd jump down here. Now this is the second location where you can land off the drop. Now although this isn't as optimal because people from up here can shoot down at you, if you get too highly contested, you kind of miss the drop a little bit, you're too low to the ground, I recommend landing here. You have a lot of barrels that can spawn here as well as a lot of floor loot. You have a quick exit path as well, and as well as a few mats around here as well. Just loot it how you typically loot, try and land on a gun, then go for chest and shield, and then you can just keep looting the floor loot area here and flush down the bottom section. You can jump into the water, be careful not to land on the little side railings here because you will die of fall damage. And the other place you want to land on this side is this section here. So the top side of Rave Cave has 3 possible landings that are really good. They have a lot of loot, and these are the best landings that you want to be landing in the game. So once again, you have a lot of slurp barrels. You can talk to the NPC here for a potential drop of shield or other loot in the game. They don't really sell much good stuff. You can turn into a prop that can call for some funny circumstances if you're messing around. Fair bit of metal around, plus a lot of floor loot. Now in my opinion, this one out of the top 3 is the one that's most likely you're less likely to get shot because you have a fair bit of cover or loot spawns. As you jump down this side, you have loot spawns here. Do note there is chests that can spawn under the stairs here. Pretty sure you can get a total of 100 shield down here, as we have 1 barrel, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So a perfect 10. You can get that 100 shield just from landing down here without having to take any minis. Height is better as it typically has more loot, and then you can have that high ground. But if you want to get quick loot off the ground, you want to be looting down here, just be careful, you might get beamed from the sky, so get ready to build really fast. When it comes into our 4th best location to be landing at Rave Cave, you're looking at this vent area here. Now this has always been a great location to land because you can loot this relatively slowly. You're a lot less likely to get shot at, and then if you do get shot at, you can just go down in the vent and you can launch yourself upwards, and you can leave to go the 7 volt over here, or you can just go directly downwards. Now typically what I'll do is I'd grab a gun. If I'm too highly contested or I don't get the best gun, I'll just go straight down here, and then I will dip right away to the right side. This right side has a few floor loot spawns. You can have a potential gun spawn here, potential chest spawn here. And the reason I like this is this has got a lot of cover and you can move around very easily here. So you can pick up a lot of loot around here and a fair bit of metal. And I do think this is the best place to land inside the building, as there's less points of entry. So there's less places that you're going to get shot from. Say for example, if you land in the middle section here, you can get shot from 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 completely the other side because you're in the center. If you go through this propeller vent here and you end up on this side, people can only come through this door or come from your front, so you're covered on all sides, so you're less likely to get shot by people while looting off rip. Now there is an absolute goated location here to land in duos, but firstly, before we get into that, we need to talk about the slurp trucks. Now there is 2 slurp truck spawns in Rave Cave. We have one that's on the side over here. However, there doesn't seem to be much floor loot or a lot of chest spawns around here, and based on the amount of slurp barrels around this location as a whole, I don't think it's worth going directly for the slurp truck, as you're more likely to get beamed because there's not a lot of loot around. There's not a lot of easy mats to pick up. You have a little bit of brick here, but it's not heaps. When it comes into my personal best opinion for the places to land here in duos, this is a great drop also for solos if you like getting into fast gameplay off the rip, and that is at this slurp truck. Now I do not recommend landing at this slurp truck stand alone, but what I recommend doing is while gliding in, if you're playing duos, get your duo to land on this top side. They can pick up a bit of mats here, a little bit of shield. There's a potential chest spawn at the back here, potential floor spawns here. Then once they've looted that, hopefully you've looted whatever gun spawn spawns here. Fingers crossed the gun spawns. You can take all of this brick and then you can take the slurp truck. The minute that you and your teammate have got the slurp truck, this will probably take a minute to loot this. Very quick. You don't have to grab all the mats in the world. What I recommend doing is jumping in the bowlers. Your duo jumps in a bowler also. Then then you can both rotate while having a few first shot protection towards the vault. Once you get to the vault, you'll have those mats, you can place a thing behind you, and then you can open the vault. Now do note, in Battle Labs, the vault door does not spawn, but in order to open up this vault, it no longer has a key card, it has the vault style of having to have 2 people stand in front of it. So if you are playing solos, you have to ride an animal or bring a chicken down here, so that's a lot harder to do, but if you can land on an animal and then just run it in, you can go to this vault right away. The other way to approach this in duos at the moment is you want to have both of the teammates land on the balls. Now, this is going to mean you're going to have to loot super fast once you get into the vault. But if you land off the rip here, you can potentially break the slope truck. I wouldn't recommend it. You're probably going to get shot if people loot the truck or if people land up here. But what I recommend doing is just off the rip, both of you land in bowlers. Both go towards that section there, both jump out, you can open up the vault, you can just farm the floor of where the 4 chests spawn, so I wouldn't recommend opening them for XP if you're trying to loot fast. So you both come down here, you've opened up the vault, you won't have mats, just break the table here, just break this here, just break this here. Make sure you break the slope barrels together and then open up all the other stuff that doesn't break naturally in the game. And you can get that guaranteed 60 shield and then leave through the toilet. Thing that is really important to note, why I recommend landing topside, is you can get this second best drop location right after landing topside in the game. There is a toilet that spawns here in the game, and if you go through this toilet, you'll be on the very top of Rave Cave, right inside the Cuddle Team leader's head. There is a toilet that spawns in there, and that toilet leads to that location. So if you get loot and you happen to be the first people to land at the top, you can then get further loot at the bottom side there. You should be able to pick up 100 shield very easily, and then you can rotate in towards the vault and make sure you have mats as well. Not only having the best drop for high ground, but then also having the best rotation off this rather than just rotating off the top of the head. So that's all of the best landings in Rave Cave. We're going to be moving into Reality Falls. Something that's really important to note, that bowlers do not work properly with these propellers. They get stuck down here, and actually you can't get yourself back up properly half the time when you do get stuck down here. Like, I've had situations where I've jumped out of the bowler and then I go to jump back in and then the bowler just explodes. So don't bring the bowlers down those little sections. If you guys have made it this far in the video and you haven't yet already, I'd greatly appreciate it if you leave that video with a like rating and subscribe down below. Less than 5% of people who currently watch the YouTube videos are subscribed. So the first best drop to land around Reality Falls is Cuddle Team Leader House. Now this is on the side of the map here. The reason for this is you can typically buy gold loot here. Depending on which one of the Cuddle Team Leader characters spawns, depends on what guns you can get. You can get a gold striker pump or a gold stinger SMG from landing here for 400 gold. This house has a potential of about 4 to 5 chest spawns, so you can get a lot of loot. There's a lot of floor loot here. Highly recommend this landing in arena. You can rotate to the beach here, get a lot of brick. These mushrooms provide a lot of wood. Do note the multiplier in Battle Labs is absolutely outrageous, so you won't be getting all that. And then you can rotate over to the vault here. If you're playing duos, this is going to be even better in arena, because then you can go loot the vault here that you open as a team, and then you can take the rifts and just rotate to wherever you like in the map or straight to the slipstream. Do note this one, if it does get contested, can be quite rough, so I do recommend trying to land on a gun on the outskirts if you see one. Now the tree next to Reality Falls, the big tree in the game, the tree of life, whatever you like to call it, is a very good location to land, but it's a very hot drop, and this can be a great spot to land if you're trying to pull off high kill wins in this little cabin on the side here. Now this cabin here has a potential of 4 chest spawns, and then you have a bunch of floor loot. The reason I like this one more than the others is there's a lot of cover here, especially if you're playing zero builds mode. The landing anywhere in Reality Falls is going to be goated. This area was made with zero builds in mind. Remember when zero builds first came out, Fortnite wasn't planning on keeping it. It was because of its popularity that I decided to keep it. So the map was never designed for zero build modes apart from this area. So if you are getting shot at, there's a lot of trees to slide behind and move out of the way. You can sprint from tree to tree. You can also pickaxe these rocks, and you can follow these rocks, so these rocks can give you cover. If you don't want to get hit by people, you can use this as a sort of cover. If people are pushing towards you, if there's someone in front of you, you're trying to rotate to zone, say if they're at that tree, you've got moving cover with you. Just showing you guys as a little token appreciation for watching the video so much. If you actually do land on this side of the waterfall, you do have a secret back section here. So if you want to pick up some nice sneaky loot and a lot of brick, if you're playing build mode of the game, this is the place to rotate to. If you do want to land right in the center of this new location, you can. All you have to do is dive directly down, and you have a bunch of potential chest spawns around you here. This is going to give you a lot of mats as well as a lot of good guns, but chest spawn rate is not 100%, so it's unlikely to get all of those. If you want to rotate quickly away from here, if you didn't get the guns that you like, you have to just jump on one of these mushrooms here or build up to the top section here in the leaves, and you will have redeploy in the game. Do note, if you try to land back on the tree and you try to land on these back sections here, it's very easy to fall off and fall to your death, so do not do that.
Flashback.
If you want to pick up more shield before leaving the tree, you can build on the tree, so I do recommend doing that for yourself. And then all you have to do is just build a cover for yourself, so then you hit your head and then you will get the shield from these mushrooms on the edges, rather than launching up towards the top section of the tree or launching into the ground here. Another fantastic place to land at Reality Falls is main cabin here. Now there's a few ways to land main cabin. What you can do is try and ping guns while you're landing to see what they are, and then land directly on the guns, or sprint directly to the guns, because that's going to be guaranteed loot. You can also land on either one of these two roofs here, one of them being the front section here facing towards Tilted, one of them being the back section here facing towards the house. If you're landing on the back section, you want to pickaxe this second left side here, not the first one, because then you can have a potential spawn of loot on the floor here. If you don't get potential spawn of loot, you can pickaxe straight down, or you can just go down and go through this door. You can get a chest here, and then you have also more potential floor loot spawns, as well as another chest that spawns here in the bathroom if it does happen to spawn. The same goes for this other side as well. If you are landing on the roof here, I recommend just landing on this section and breaking it, and then going straight down after that, as you will have potential floor loot spawns here, as well as having another potential chest spawn under you, while picking up some mats on the way rather than running through the doors. I prefer to land the front side here because you do have the slurp barrels, but a better landing than landing this cabin overall, because this cabin will be highly contested and there's a lot of rooms here, so you can get hit from a lot of different angles, is landing the gas station. Now this gas station to me is about just as good as back cabin, but the front cabin is not as good because it's going to get too highly contested. Now the reason for this is that gas stations don't have a lot of places for people to hide, so you can easily see what's going on around you. What I recommend is while gliding in, ping around if you can see guns, so you can land directly on the guns, and then looting the rest of the building. That includes the chests here, the potential chest spawn here. You have guaranteed slurp barrels that will be spawning here. You can pick up a bit of slurp barrels. You can loot the insides here for potential chest spawns, and then you can buy from the vending machine extra heals, as well as looting the freezers. Depending on what loot you get from there, you can choose to rotate out, whether a vehicle spawns, or you can rotate in. What I recommend doing is farming the trees here. As you notice, I broke this tree that was here when it first came, when I was getting on the roof, and then this back tree, and you'll get a fair bit of mats. You can choose then whether or not you want to farm some brick or you want to push into cabin. I reckon this is the best way to land cabin, is actually landing a gas station. Guaranteed loot, you can easily see if people are landing with you or contesting you, and there's not many places for them to hide, and then you can rotate in third party with better loot and better shields and a bit more mats than everyone else in the game. Now this one I still count as part of Reality Falls, but it's more so the backside of Greasy, and that is Red Barn. Now the reason you want to be landing Red Barn is if you want to have a slower start to your game and you want to give yourself some guaranteed shield. Now this can be a really good spot to land in Arena as well. Now I do think this will get relatively contested, but there's a few points of contention of what you want to do here. Number one, potentially land on the mushroom up top, see if you can get some good guns and then shoot people down from the top side. You can then break those mushrooms and get a fair bit of wood before rotating in. There's a lot of floor loot spawns, and there's a lot of mushrooms that can give you shield, as well as the barrels. Now the way that you want to be looting the mushrooms or getting the shield from the mushrooms is not bouncing on them, because it's going to make you an open target for anyone who sees you in the air or that has good tracking. What you want to do is you want to place a mat on top of it, and then when you jump you'll hit your head, and then you can easily pick up all the shield here. That's the fastest way possible to get shield from the mushrooms. So Greece is a bit of a mess now. Now there is a couple better spawns to land here. Unfortunately, we no longer have the zip line. As a replacement for these zip lines, what I recommend doing is landing on these mushrooms if they had their chest spawns on the back side of Greasy. So facing the southwest side of the map, landing here. This will give you a clear shot of anyone who happens to land gas station. So if you get like a long range gun, you can therefore take some easy shots on people. Depending on where they land, you can then get mats on the way down just by farming the mushroom. On top of that as well, I also recommend these two houses. Now these houses I prefer to the rest. I think the rotations are better and you have more options going out than any of the houses on the west side or the left side of the map. Now the way that you can loot these houses is you can either land at the top here for the potential spawns. The reason I recommend this house is I reckon we'll have low contention rate because there's not a lot of loot that can spawn here. Or you can land the bottom side here. There will be potential floor loot spawns, and then once you're done, you can simply break this mushroom and have the whole house crashing down. Now, although this does take a while to fall and break, there is a weird delay for it. It will eventually come crashing down, and then you can just pick up all the loot from the floor. Do note, you can do the same thing for this mushroom here, and I'm not saying this as a landing. If you hear people fighting above you, what you can do is you can just break this mushroom and then watch them fall down. There is 2 other mushrooms under them, and they can land on those on the way down, but that's very unlikely, and then by the time that the house breaks, you can just beam them while they're in the air, and then you can just pick up the rest of the loot. Also highly recommend landing at Grey House, land on the mushroom side, and then just go through this door, rather than running through the stairwell or pickaxing the roof. I think this is a better approach for it. I prefer this house because I feel like your back is kind of covered, you won't really have people landing here, and then you can just beam here, whereas if you land at these houses, you have the potential people rotating in from barn that can kill you. The reason I don't like landing at the top of tacos in here is because everyone can see you from every angle, and it's going to be highly contested because there's a lot more places to hide and move around. Talking about other new locations to land at the map, you're talking about the lake, aka known as the glow in the game. I recommend landing this side, the one that's closest to tilted, for its slurp truck. Landing at the top here, pick up any floor loot you can, so if anyone lands at the bottom side, you can beam them. Directly after doing that and looting the freezer, I recommend using the boat to loot the slurp truck. It's the quickest way to do it. It will take 2 shots, be careful not to shoot yourself, and then you can rotate to this middle island. I typically will break the chest near here as well, so it's easier to loot, and then once you do that, you can take a launch pad and decide where you want to go, whether you want to try and loot the sides more, or if you want to try and push people, or if you want to leave the location. This comes into the other best location to land at glow, and this happens to be the right side here, aka known as the east side of it, very close to Coney. I recommend landing at the top as you're landing, pinging guns to see what's there, and then just running through the rest of the location. There's a lot of slurp barrels on this side, so you can easily get 100% shield. You can also pick up a lot of loot here. I think this will be more contested side compared to the others, but definitely one that's going to be worth it, as it's going to have more cover and a little bit more options, and you have the launch pad on the south side once you're ready to dip out. If you do talk to Haven here, you have the option of her dropping you loot, as well as buying yourself more shield, a rift to go, or hiring her on top of that. So those are all the new best locations to land in the map. I'm going to go over the rest of the best locations I recommend landing on the entire map that have existed for a while. But as a little Easter egg, I thought I'll show you guys there is a soccer pitch here that is fully working. So if you are playing squads, you can 2v2 your teammates in squads on the soccer field, and the ball will continually spawn in the middle here. You will have to keep track yourself of the score, as there isn't any scoreboard. What I recommend doing, however, is building a little perimeter around it. You can put a roof on it if you don't want people to come third party and shoot you. Now you can make this super low walls if you want to do an edit like this or an edit like this, or you can make this higher up walls if you want to be making an edit that looks like this instead. This will ensure that when you kick the ball, it's not going to go out of bounds, and you continually can play with your friends. If you didn't watch my video on how to drop Collider when that was a location in the game, another place you can land here is this little side cabin that's always been here. Now the reason for this is if you want a little bit of a slower start, you have potential of 2 to 3 chest spawns here. You can pick up the columberries for a guaranteed 60 shield. You can then farm the rocks and then just rotate in with about 300 brick to wherever you like. Now, although Tilted Towers is getting a little bit of a makeover, you still have the same consistent 2 best drops to land here. Now, whether or not when this block location comes, if it's going to be a go-to spot, that's going to be hard to tell. It is in the center of the map, so you do have a lot of areas where people can shoot you from, so I wouldn't recommend landing there. Anyway, I recommend landing at the granny flats. Although there's not a lot of loot here, you're quite well protected. If you're first one on the ground to pick up a gun, no one's going to contest you here. You can farm up all the map, and then you can have a nice clean start. And then obviously the other best location to land when going tilted, if you see a lot of people going towards the granny flats, is you can just land at the gas station. Just like the other gas stations in the game, you have your guaranteed slurp barrels that spawn here. You have the vending machine, so you can get yourself instant health if there isn't enough health spawns, and then you can choose to rotate in or out depending on what the car spawns are. Risky is still a great spot to land in the game, although it's not as overpowered as it was last season, not only due to the blimps being gone, but losing some of the eskies that were around on the ground, having less spawns on them. You still have the same locations. I recommend landing the top of billboard, pinging your loot to see whether or not to land on the chest or the gun. You can land at the caravan here, which is a potential chest spawn inside, as well as some floor loot around. And if you do miss all of those, I recommend just landing at this building here, as it's a lot less likely for people to see you. I typically find that if you land at the taco station or the back building here, which some people call theater, you're a lot more likely to get pushed, and there's a lot more angles that people can see you from, where there's a lot more cover inside here. So our last best drop spots to land to give yourself an unfair advantage is still currently the lighthouse. Now the reason for this is we still have the slurp truck. Now you can land directly on the slurp truck. What I recommend is actually landing on the chest here if it spawns, and then going to the slurp truck, because then you're more likely to be the only one who gets it, and you have a gun to defend yourself. Another landing you can do, my favorite one, is landing at the top side here, looting these guns that can potentially spawn here, coming down this side, looting that chest if it spawns that's inside the crate, opening up that S key, and then rotating to the slurp truck. Very similar to how we opened up the slurp truck before, just hit one shot before you're at it, and then right when you're on it, don't shoot it at the front section or you will do damage to yourself. Aim it at the back of the wall here, and then it will blow up on impact. You can then rotate up, and whether or not you're playing build mode, you can farm all of these rocks, and then you can rotate into the back of Sleepy Sound. Now the back of Sleepy Sound has a guaranteed 1,000 mats for wood as well as metal on these little supports. So if you're playing arena, this is a great one to land for guaranteed shield and guaranteed hard mats. Something you can do is you can knock the lighthouse down with the boat missile if you see someone landing at the top. So while you're rotating into the slurp truck from the boat, just do a shot here and then a shot there, and the whole thing will come down and that person will die of fall damage. You can then rotate to these beaches down here, as the beaches have a fair bit of loot and the beach there. Or you can come through to this side, which has the guaranteed slurp barrels as well as some loot and some floor loot around here also. Just be careful when you're on the beach down here that someone doesn't knock this rock and you die from it hitting you. And obviously the last best location to land in Season 3 of Fortnite is the Daily Bugle. Now the reason for this is the Daily Bugle has an abundance of loot. You're not going to be cut short here of what shotgun you want to carry. If you want to carry any of the free shotguns, if you want to carry all 3 of the shotguns that are currently in rotation in the game, you can carry all 3 of them. You will find them here. This is a great spot to land because you have an abundance of choice as well. Now the reason I've loaded this one up in Joy's no fill is, number one, I don't want to ruin my solo stats. They're pretty trash, don't worry about it. But also I just wanted to check if the bus spawns here. I know we do have a couple of buses around the map, but they've changed colors as well, but it doesn't seem to be any there. Alright, I'm celebrating, damn. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you haven't yet already, please leave it with a like rating and subscribe down below. And if you happen to buy the battle pass, if you haven't yet got it already, or buy anything in the item store, I appreciate if you can use my code onyi. My name is Onyi. All of my links are down in the description. You can check out my Twitch, which I stream out from time to time. Join the Discord. I chat in there with all of the onyies, and also follow me on Twitter as well. Trying to get to like 1,000 followers on Twitter before the end of the year. Are you guys watching? Catch you guys on the flip side. Goodbye.